Hey everybody, Playtendoguy here, and I'm back with another video. As I've recently watched the brand new James Bond film, No Time to Die, I thought it'd be a great time to actually rank all the Daniel Craig films from worst to best. So without further ado, let's get into it. So yes, No Time to Die released, last month, I think, yeah, last month in October, and I've recently got the chance to watch it, and now as I've seen all the Daniel Craig films, I thought it'd be a good idea to rank them all from worst to best. And to me, the Daniel Craig films have very been hit and miss. We've had some really high highs and some really quite low lows. They've certainly been very up and down with quality. But nevertheless, let's start off with the first film on the list, number 5, and that is Quantum of Solace. Yeah, originally released in 2008, I believe, Quantum of Solace was a direct sequel to Casino Royale, and this was the first time that a Bond film continued straight on from where a film left off, a direct sequel, as you will. Whilst many other Bond films actually did follow plot threads from other titles, they never really fully fledged them, so to speak. But Quantum of Solace was the first one to do that, and overall, it is a very mixed bag of a film. There's some great action sequences in there. Olga Kowalenska and Gemma Arterton are both fantastic here, and it's a pretty good looking film, but the problem is the story is very weak and forgettable, and this is mainly due to the writers' strike at the time, so it isn't all the film's fault. I believe Daniel Craig even got involved with the writing to try and help bring this film to life, because I think at the time the film wasn't even going to happen. But overall, Quantum of Solace isn't as bad as what I remembered it to be. I actually did have fun with it, but overall, compared to the other entries on this list, it does lack in a lot of departments. Next up at number 4 is Spectre. Now this is a really odd film. This is always following up from Skyfall was always going to be a hard act to follow. Skyfall is easily one of the best entries in the Bond franchise, and to top that one is always going to be hard. And Spectre, unfortunately, doesn't deliver. But it isn't that it's good but not as good. The problem is that it's quite boring, to be honest. It's like 2.5 hours long, and it really does drag. Christopher Waltz's Blofeld, I kind of do believe is a little bit miscast here. Instead of feeling like Blofeld, he feels more like Blandfeld. There's some good action sequences in this. It's a good looking film. There's some great cast members in this. We even do have Andrew Scott in here. I actually forgot his name for a minute. Andrew Scott from Sherlock. He is pretty good in this one. The whole thing with what they do with Blofeld on Bond is quite interesting. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of that, but it's an interesting turn to take nevertheless. The opening part in Mexico for the Day of the Dead sequence is fantastically shot. Again, as I said, the action sequences are quite good. We also do have Léa Seydoux here, and she plays Madeline, and she's alright in this. I wasn't the biggest fan of hers in this film, but once we got to No Time to Die, I don't mind her, to be fair. Overall, this isn't a bad film per se, but it's a very boring one. Next up at number 3, I cannot actually get it off the shelf because I don't have it yet because it isn't out physically, and that is No Time to Die. The final entry into the Daniel Craig series of Bond films, and actually the longest film at nearly 3 hours. And boy, doesn't it feel like it. 3 hours is way too long, nearly. It's about 2 hours and 50 minutes, and whilst the film doesn't drag, it does feel like it's far too long. It probably could have done with a little bit of cutting and chopping to make it just over 2 hours, probably 2 hours and a half. But what we have here is a pretty good send-off to Daniel Craig's Bond. That sees Madeline and Bond, basically Bond retires from being 007, and they're living a relatively lovely life until he's pulled back into the spy world once again. The action set pieces in this are phenomenal. The opening car chase sequence is fantastic. There is a shootout in a bar, which I won't spoil, which also stars Anna de Armas, and she is fantastic in this film. Unfortunately, she's only in it for like about 20-30 minutes. It would have been brilliant if she was in this film longer. The film does actually take quite a lot of risks, especially with that ending, but I'm not going to spoil that. It's certainly going to divide opinion. For me, I'm still very mixed on that. But the main thing that I didn't like about the film is Rami Malek as the villain Saffron. For me, he was just forgettable and boring, and he actually come across quite annoying. There wasn't nothing really there that really made him stand out. And to be the final adversary Daniel Craig's Bond faces, it just doesn't do it for me. But then again, we have had a great lineup of villains like with Mads Mikkelsen and Javier Bardem. So it was always going to be a tough act to follow. But honestly, I thought Christopher Waltz, Blofeld was more better than him. Rami Malek just didn't have the enough essence to capture what a villain could be, and it just became a forgettable performance. There's a lot here that I'd like to say, but it's mostly to do with the story. It's interesting how they took the story, and props for them for doing that. For me, I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it. I'm still in the middle. It's a film that definitely needs more rewatches down the line, but it does cap off the Daniel Craig era quite well, as it does follow from a few plot threads from like Casino Royale, Spectre. It definitely feels like a sequel to Spectre. Definitely feels so, more so than like Casino Royale with Quantum of Solace in my opinion. But overall, it's definitely not a bad film. It's not the best in the series, it's just slap right bang in the middle. Now for number 2, it's quite a hard decision. Both of these films are fantastic, and any day of the week, if you ask me which is my favourite, it will always change. But today, I'm going to put in second place Casino Royale. Absolutely fantastic film. Really think it was the kick up the backside the Bond franchise needed after the pretty dang awful Die Another Day. Die Another Day was just an abomination, but thankfully Casino Royale brought the series back and brought it back really well. It was a fantastic film. It was a much more darker, grittier tone of a film. Definitely taking inspirations from the Timothy Dalton era. And straight from the get-go, you could tell that Daniel Craig was Bond. There was a lot of hoo-ha when Daniel Craig was announced that like he was blonde haired, like, ooh, this and that and the other. There was a lot of media coverage over it, whether he would be good for the role, but literally within the first couple of minutes, you can tell he told them critics to shut up. The black and white opening of it was really, really well done. The whole bit with Mads Mikkelsen in the casino is just fantastic. There's hordes of action sequences here. There is a pretty brutal torture scene in it. And who can forget Eva Green as Vesper Lynd? Easily one of the best and most badass Bond girls about. Daniel Craig's era of Bond really did change. Well, the Bond franchise as a whole changed with Casino Royale. It took cues from the Timothy Dalton era and also took a lot of cues from the Bourne series at the time, which was increasingly popular. It was a much more darker, grittier film, way different to the Sean Connerys, to the Roger Moore films, and even to the later Pierce Brosnan films. It is a very good film. It's a different type of Bond, a more emotional Bond, but still a brutal one at that. Very good film. Still highly rewatchable to this day. I've seen this film about 5 or 6 times, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it again and again and again. It's such a rewatchable film, and if you ask me a different day of the week, this probably would be my number 1 Craig Bond film, but today is a different one. So that leads me to number 1 on my list, and that is Skyfall. Both these films are absolutely fantastic. For me, they're like 5 out of 5 films. But today, Spectre Spectre, Skyfall wins. Fantastic film. Really celebrated the 50th anniversary of James Bond with style. From its hauntingly superb soundtrack opening theme by Adele, it tells you what you're going to get into. It's a huge love letter to James Bond's franchise as a whole, celebrating this 50th anniversary of this motion picture series. Daniel Craig is probably the best he's ever been with Skyfall, and it includes some fantastic action scenes, superb action scenes. The opening bit on the train with Bond getting shot is just fantastic. This also introduces Naomi Harris here as Moneypenny, and she really plays it well. We also have Ben Whishaw here as Q, who I think is just a perfect fit for the role. Also props to Javier Bardem as Silver. He's literally one of the best Bond villains out there. He's so menacing, and there's some great moments between him and Daniel Craig in some interrogation scenes. The plot here is very personal, especially to Judi Dench's M, and it does explore James Bond's backstory as well. It's a very personal Bond film, and it's a very good action film as well. The final is breathtaking, really, in my opinion. It's definitely, for me, today at least, the best Bond film of the Daniel Craig era. It's literally, as I said, it's so easy to choose between these. So anyway, that is my ranking of Daniel Craig's Bond films. Tell me what you think of my list in the comment section down below. Tell me your Bond ranking list in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like and subscribe, that would be totally awesome. And as always, till next time, bye.